Okay, hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect. Today's episode, we're going to jump into Highway Hijinks. So Highway Hijinks reads, a few acres of flat land, perfect for an amusement park. The problem, a highway cuts right through the middle. Okay, that sounds very simple. So I have a 550 guests in the park. Overall park rating at 80%. That seems pretty normal. 250 guests in park. Wonder what reward I get. And then I complete the August goal, which I'm not gonna. You guys already know this. I don't care because we're decorating. We're decorating this park to its fullest. So the big plan is to make a Legoland, kind of. I don't know why. I actually know why. I'll tell you why in a second. So we'll get Giga Coaster and Tourbillon when we get 250. Oh, okay. That sounds good, but regardless. So here's the entrance of the park. Highway Hijinks. Very typical modern architecture, which kind of is perfect for which I'm going to try to do is Legoland. And here's the highway right down the middle of the map, which is actually really cool. Okay, and then there's this section of land to build on. Okay, so the idea of doing a Legoland came together actually because of another player by Mr. Unit. He was playing a multiplayer map with somebody, and he shared what their progress was on this map particular, and they made like somewhat of a Legoland. And it looked amazing. I liked how it kind of resembled Legoland. It had some of like the Castle Hill stuff and some of the other Legoland type of things. And so I thought to myself, why not try to do my own version just in vanilla? Because I know he was using mods in that aspect, so I'm going to try to do it modless. We'll see if this works. The only thing I need to think about is the laying of the lands. And which ones I'm going to replicate. So like the beginning area is going to be called the beginning. So that's where the gift shop is. Maybe some other rides. And then maybe the imagination zone has to be here. And then Castle Hill can be back here. And then maybe the pirate shore can be over here. And I also need to have Miniland. So Miniland can actually happen in the middle of the park, or somewhat like toward over here. So I have some ideas, but let's first look at what I got first. We got a carousel, bumper cars, car ride, Ferris wheel. Okay. Go-karts, jumpers, top spin. Sounds good to me. Junior coaster, wild mouse. Okay, so junior coaster can be for the Dinosaur Land. So Coastersaurus. The wild mouse could be Technic coaster in the imagination zone. That helps. No trains. Oh, no trains. I want trains. And then water rides. Okay. Scenery. Gotta check that first. And it seems very generic. Plus maybe. Oh, so brick walls. That's it? Is that all I get? Is brick walls? Let me see. Yeah. I can just get brick walls, which is fine. Brick walls is important for like some type of Main Street or something. So the thing I need to do is fix this. I think I can repaint this all to make it look more Lego-like or somewhat similar to Legoland. And I think I can actually make a Legoland sign right here actually. I just have to get rid of these trees and leave the water. I'll leave the water in, which is fine. But I think I can actually make a sign that says Legoland. I just don't know what I'm going to call it. Legoland Highway or Legoland. Because you know how like Legoland has a name. I don't know what country this is, so maybe we can make it up. We make this another state in America. So we have Legoland, California, and Legoland, Florida. Maybe we should have Legoland. I might have to think about that. Legoland, New Hampshire. Legoland. So I don't know. I have like other ideas, but I can't really think of one that would work. It's okay. So we're gonna move on to actually building because we need to start construction on this new Legoland park. So let's get on building. Okay, let's get started with the first couple things. So before starting any project, I have to go on a reference binge, basically. Go find references on Google and other things like that to understand the theme and or idea of mine, basically figuring out what I want to work on first and go from there. So Legoland being the main objective here, I pulled most of my references from California and I think Windsor a little bit, and the one in Denmark. So the first thing I really did was actually get the color codes for the actual Lego brick colors, and so that's why you see all those cubes off to the left hand side. So those are all the actual values of said Lego bricks. So that actually basically solidified this more as I was working on this project. So the first thing is also to basically recolor all the buildings in front of Highway Hijinks, because they're pretty blah looking buildings, and so matched them in yellow and red accents of Lego color, worked out really well, and then making the Legoland sign was the next big thing to work on. As I was working on the sign, I was basically thinking in my head, like, okay, so do I want to add studs on top to simulate that they're all actually Lego bricks? And this actually worked out really well, and it actually gave me that Lego feeling. Usually the first building or structure or whatever you want to call it happens on a map of any of these scenarios is usually your test build. So testing this out, basically just I make the Legoland sign, color the buildings, and then I get the feeling of like, yes, this theme can work, and onto the basically the whole gist of the project, because sometimes it takes me a couple tries, takes a couple test runs before I actually jump into a map, but that's how I do it. You don't necessarily have to do it, but it helps to test it out a little bit before jumping into a big project like this, especially trying to decorate all the scenarios like I have at this point. So just right now spacing out the letters for, well, just spacing out the letters, making them sure that they're not blending into each other, and then adding studs on top using cylinders to kind of give it that Lego look. And I do like the look of this. The Lego signs in real life don't do this, but I felt like it was a fun way to do it, and kind of just solidified the theme even more, and so I did that. And then I grabbed a high-res picture of the Lego logo off of Google, because Parkitect likes to compress images as you get them. So usually I combat that with I think the theory works, but I don't know if it's actually works or not, but I feel like getting a high-res picture kind of maybe combats it, but I honestly don't know if it does or not. I really don't, but that's just the way I do it. And so on to the actual first couple buildings. So to my understanding, Legoland has this interesting feel and look to it, and I would describe it as like a mall. So the front part of the park, which would be basically our main street of the theme park, is called the beginning. And so the beginning looks like a mall to me, because there is a big shop off to the right or the left side of the street, and then there's strollers you can rent, there's information, and there's what else? Maybe a snack stand, maybe, or a restaurant nearby. And it just feels like a very mall-like, and I especially pulled most of the inspiration from California, because that's the closest park to me, and I've been going to that park actually since opening, so it is no stranger for me at all to actually go to Legoland. I go at least, I try to go once a year, but ever since COVID happened, I kind of haven't been going, and it's kind of hard to get out there. It's about an hour and a half drive from where I live, so it's kind of a trek, but I've been going to Legoland for decades at this point. So that's the connection I have with Legoland. There's another connection also, there's more to it, like for example, I have what's called an ambassador pass to Legoland, which is a lifetime admission to the park, and I got that when I was 7 years old. So I basically have lived on Lego for this many years, because again, I love Lego, and that's why I think Parkitect and Lego work so well together, because Parkitect's kind of like that. You have pieces, and you're told to build said place or idea or whatever theme you want, and Lego does the same thing. It's just a different medium. And so I'm very happy that both of these themes kind of clash together really well. And I think this looks really great. I just had too much fun doing this. It's kind of sad that it's all over now at this point. You're seeing the video now, so. But I would love to do more Lego themes in the future, maybe embellish them more. But this was a fun way to do it from the beginning. So onto building some more supporting facilities, I want to call it. Yeah, this is just I think it's going to be a cash machine and a first aid is going to be in this building. And I just take the beat off so Legoland New York has a different style of buildings versus the one in California. And so they basically do is take a box and then they throw Lego decorations on it, like Wrigley's. So Lego bricks holding, and then there's like Lego bricks on the walls, Lego bricks coming from the walls. There's maybe some decorations on the roofing edges. There's pillars, and it's just kind of weird. And so I did this here with this building, and it actually looks nice. It's just very childlike because, again, Legoland is focused on families and small children usually. So I kind of went for that type of theme. It worked out really well in this aspect. Even though none of the guests in Parkitect are children, probably most of them are 18 and up, most likely, because there's no such thing as a small child in Parkitect. Which maybe should that be fixed? Maybe. Who knows? So I just basically figured out that building, and then figuring out my size of the brick to kind of represent a giant Lego brick in this world. And so I think I chose the size 0.25 for the cube and 0.18 for the stud. So jumping over here, I have decided to do a small homage to a Legoland video game classic building called the Media Building, or the Lego Media Group building. So in the Legoland video game, you get to build Legoland parks as the game. It's like a tycoon game. Very crude. It was not the best game. I played a little bit of it when I finally got a hands on it, because you can find it, I think, on an Abandonware, and you can just download it and play it, but it's very hard to get running on any system. But it's basically a 2x4 brick with an M on the side, and I thought it was kind of a neat idea to go pay homage to that game. So again, it's on like clashing worlds together in just this one part with Lego and their Lego theme park game. It's kind of a weird thing to do, but I felt it was a really cool idea to do it, so I did it. So on to the actual next area. So usually in a Legoland, there is a area called the Imagination Zone, and the Imagination Zone is like a hodgepodge of themes and other Lego IP that doesn't work for a land itself. So in here you find race car tables that you build cars, put them down ramps, or you find a Bionicle building, or I know last time at Legoland they did a Xbox like play zone where there was Xbox 360s, you can go play a Lego game on, and you can do that for free. That was an interesting thing to do. So I thought it was fitting to stick the bumper cars in one of these buildings. I didn't only build one of the buildings, because usually there's two of the same building on either side of the street, but I felt like I didn't have enough space to do that. So this is kind of a condensed version of Imagination Zone, but it worked out really well because I like the look of the building. It's very square based. Again, I think it leans really well into Parkitect because I'm leaning into the square stuff. So here comes my first like legit model, if you want to call it like that, like a Lego model. So there's a T-Rex that's made of Lego that is representing a Lego T-Rex Technic set. I don't know what year it came out, but I looked it up a little bit. I found some reference pictures and found the actual big giant model that was out there. And yeah, I thought it was a cool idea to have it kind of sticking out of the building. I want to say the one at Legoland California is gone, but I think the one at Windsor still exists. So it's kind of a homage to Windsor, but I think this is more likely the one that I copied from California, because that's the one I remember when I went as a kid back in 1999. So it's been a while, so I just needed to go figure out to test out how this worked and how it kind of laid around. But to my understanding, it's a whole bunch of Technic beams and Technic Lego elements that kind of make a hexagonal or diagonal looking body, and then you have pins holding it in, and then you see some of the studs, and so I just kind of wanted to make it kind of face this way. I made it face the street because I was thinking of a advertising ploy. So you're driving down this highway that goes between two plots of land with this bridge, and you see this dinosaur kind of menacing off to the side, and so the kids see it and they scream at mom and dad, "Oh my god, go to Legoland, let's pull over, it's the next stop, go, go, go," and then like this kind of like advertising ploy. I mean, it's kind of funny to have a theme park kind of sit in like right on top of the highway, but I find it cool. I find it kind of interesting to kind of do that, so that was kind of the thought process of placing it here instead of on the front of the land. Because yeah, I didn't think it was just a better spot. It was just calling for me. I don't know have really a reason besides the advertising part of it. What else could I talk about? So the dinosaur. There's a lot going on in here. You can already tell with the bricks I'm using. The bricks. Oh my gosh, it looks like I'm talking Lego. So I'm just using a lot of squares, diagonal 45s, all that good stuff, some cylinders, and then just imitating Lego pieces. They don't have to be that accurate. Again, it's the limitation of vanilla, but I think it worked out really well because it does represent what I'm portraying, and as long as someone can easily identify what I'm building, I am in the gold. So that's basically a tip for you guys. Like if you're working on something and it's heavily themed on a particular topic or something, and if somebody walks on by and looks at your project and be like, "Oh, I know what that is," and they know it instantaneously, or maybe take some time to figure it out, then you're on the right track on making your design or whatever you're working on. So that's usually a confidence boost on my end when I like share a small sneak peek to an upcoming video or something. I post it and then I wait for you guys to respond and like, so you know what it is, and then I'm like, okay, then I'm in the right track. If you don't know what it is, then I sit back and maybe do a redesign maybe a little bit, try and fix it up, and then post again. Usually that's how I usually use that as a measurement of figuring out if I'm going in the right direction or not. So on to the actual first coaster of the park. There are some things that we jumped ahead on. I kind of built a flat ride with some Lego decorations on it and some other things. I wanted to kind of condense this video down because there's a lot in this. Again, I've spent, I want to say 15 hours on this build alone, and there's a lot of things in it, so I still encourage you all to go download it and take a look for yourself. But right now, I'm going to build the Technic coaster, which is in Imagination Zone, so it works out to be part of that land. So it's called the Lego Technic Test Track. So it's kind of like a knockoff of Test Track at Epcot. Kind of a weird thing that they made that, but they did. It was, I think, one of the first coasters, not necessarily the first coasters I've ridden on, as far as the first Wild Mouse I've ever been on when I was about 7, 8 years old, yeah, when the park opened. So, has a special place in my heart because I've been on it so many times, and it's kind of very simple layout. There's actually a copy of this coaster's layout at Knott's Berry Farm, so it's kind of funny to see that in a different spot. But I'm not sure who the manufacturer is. I should have looked this up, but someone probably would tell me. But yeah, very simple layout, very Wild Mouse-esque. And then I decided to then kind of copy exactly what the ride's aesthetic would look like, and so this is where I had to figure out what pieces I was going to use to showcase that test track type of feel. And finally getting a coaster finally open, this is where I'm going to start making like Buko bucks, because again, coasters make so much money in this game. So I think I priced it at $14, which was making me a pretty good chunk of cash. So the aesthetic for Test Track is kind of like a iron bars, that's the red part, with some walls and some angled topped fencing, kind of you want to describe it as? Yeah, I would describe it like that. So it's kind of like caution cones, caution tape, metal rebar structures protecting you from crashed cars or something, or runaway vehicles. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird aesthetic. The only thing that I didn't get to do was build a giant Technic minifig on the red part. I didn't get to that part because sometimes building something that small or that detailed is not feasible in vanilla. Probably with like construction anarchy and rotation anarchy, probably I can do it. And again, I can easily get back to this theme on a different project, maybe a diorama or something, and go a little bit more ham with the Lego detailing. But it worked out in this aspect actually, because I was surprised that vanilla could do this. I'm always surprised when I do this actually, which is kind of the funny part. I'm surprised every time I do a project with vanilla. It's pushing it to see how far it can go. It just tells me how well designed this game was from the get-go. So again, I do love this game a lot. So onto making this sign thing. So the Technic coaster has this weird thing in the front that just says the Lego Technic Test Track, and it just says Project X on it, which is the weirdest thing. Like, they called it that, and then it's like some backboard, and there is a picture thing that happens at the bottom of the drop, which I don't think I ever added. So this ride doesn't have cameras. I could have made an extra $3, but it doesn't matter at this point. So again, I like making signs in Parkitect. They're always fun to do, especially graphic design like this. So this was kind of fun to figure out. So did it very simple like. Oh, excuse me. The blue thing, the blue background is actually windows. If you didn't notice that before, I've used that window piece now numerous of times. I did it in my last build, and the Happy Harbor, the whole back wall of the building is all windows because it's a very thin piece. And it's very easy to kind of just stack on top of each other and kind of make that one giant film piece. The only downside is that it takes up a lot of pieces and a lot of money. You can already sell from here. I have like $2,700. I don't have a lot of money. I am spending most of it on scenery, and you know me. I do this all the time. I do this every single map at this point. And so sometimes when I'm building, I have to stop and gain up more money again or take out another loan. That's what you guys don't see while I'm making these parks, is that's the other part of it is playtime. Actually trying to make sure the park runs well, making sure my employees are fine and maintenance is good, and figuring out what I need before I go on to the next big project. So here we're going to quicken up the pace of time-lapse because there's a lot here. So now I have the beginning and Imagination Zone. Next is to make Fun Town. So Fun Town in Legoland is basically your city version of Lego. So you have a driving school, you have in there a fire academy ride, you have the Lego Factory over there, like Lego Factory Tour, and just very city-based stuff. Again, that's very Lego-like anyway. So it was fitting to use the go-karts as my driving school, and I had to figure a way to kind of make streets and kind of blend crosses together, or intersections together, and I think this actually worked out really well. There's something to note though. I think some of the traffic lights that I built, if you guys go explore the map, are kind of wonky and kind of stupid. Again, I wasn't really focused on making it, you know, street legal, because I really didn't care, but kind of looked wonky at the end. But I completely custom, like, not custom roof, but basically custom road, made a custom road throughout the whole track of the go-karts, and it worked out really well. But you can also see my money's just dropping, but then I get some loans. But yeah, here's some of the traffic lights. Some of them make no sense. Again, it's a kind of a story node, maybe, if you want to call it a story point, saying that the kid built the set, he or she built the traffic lights wrong. I don't know, we can throw that in there, kind of to fix the story. Again, it's not a big gripe for me, but I did some custom lighting for that, so the lights just do their normal cycle of traffic light stuff, and then you go from there. So yeah, it was a fun little build to do, but there's some other things that we'll see in the next couple seconds here after I completely finish the effects controller here. I did a lot of effects controllers actually stuff in this map as well. That's always fun to do, but it's also very time consuming. It's always good to do like little effects projects here and there. But yeah, the Octane sign is a logo from one of the Lego sets because that's the gas company in Lego Universe, Octane. So I used that. Yeah, and then we jump ahead to a whole bunch of things that have been built. So there's a street, there's a carousel that looks like a Lego structure. This part of the area is just city buildings with a clock tower, with some restaurants, and a fake Lego factory facade. It's actually just a one-way street that has a sign, so guests will only walk in one way and exit out the other. There's also a Lego Club building, so I don't know if all Legoland still have this, but I know Legoland California has it. It's called Lego Club. It's like a place where kids go, and there's a Lego play table there. There's snacks you can buy. There's like a lesson that happens from a master builder every other hour or something. But it's kind of just a Lego Club. You know, like the Lego Club magazine that you would get as a kid. Basically, that's what it is. So I imitated that. And I looked at the buildings that I pulled from, my references, and I looked at them like, they look like regular buildings, but the thing is, they have a little bit of Lego elements on them. Like, so the flags are Lego flags. There's studs that are on them a little bit. They're like decorational brick and studs on the building's walls and things like that. So that's kind of the aesthetic of Legoland, is that you're taking a normal building and you're sticking bricks all over it. Like periodically on the building to make it look like it's a Lego set, but it's made of real materials, concrete, brick, wood, whatever you want to do with it. So kind of the process here. Yeah, build a clock tower, build a lot of good stuff. Nothing really too crazy here besides detailing the entire street. And here's the entrance to the Lego factory. It's actually pretty nice. Very simple build, another tower. And every building is different. Nothing really too crazy to talk about here besides that. And yeah, you'll see me build the. I just built my mic. You're gonna see me build a sign here, but I'm gonna let you guys go, and we'll do a quick tour of how the park is running, and I'll show you what's coming up next for the park's expansion. Okay, here we are in Highway Hijinks, so let's just show you how the park's running and stuff like that. So I'm really having a blast working on this park at this point, because hey, it's Lego, and I love Lego, and I like Legoland, so it works well for this scenario, actually. How easy the theme fits with the scenario's already existing themes around. But so in the first section of time-lapse, we worked on the entrance area, and then I worked on the big shop, and then the other shops that kind of trickled down this main street, and then I kind of worked on the Technic coaster, which is one of my favorites, actually. Even though it's such a simple design, it's actually one of my favorite, I don't know, custom builds. Like this sign is my favorite, just making that out of text signs and shapes and other things like that. Worked out really well. And I'm surprised that it has a high decoration rating because of this path back here, but it doesn't matter. So it works out really well. And if it's a good spot, I was kind of concerned I wasn't going to be able to fit it back here, but it works. And then my favorite thing so far I've built is this Technic T-Rex. This is like, just reminds me of Legoland all the time, because here, Legoland in California has one, I think still. Actually, I don't think we have it anymore. I think it's gone now, because I think they dismantled it because it gets old. Things get old and things fall apart. So there's the T-Rex, and then we later venture down to Funtown, which is the last installment or the last addition to said park at this moment. And I'm surprised that I was able to fill one full side of the campaign map. So the plan is to build at least 3 more lands, I think. I want to do Castle Hill, maybe over here. This water one could have the Land of Adventure or Dino Land. And then I want to make up a land on my own that Legoland doesn't have, is like a space land. So a moon base or something. I mean, I could still go back out here too. I can actually add 4 significant lands here probably, most likely. Yeah, I think I can. So there's a lot that can go on still for this map. Little things like that as I continue on I'm going to probably go back and forth from places to figure out if I need to add more details here and there, add some additional things, what you need and stuff like that. Why is no one going on this ride? No one wants to go on it because it's expensive? No, it shouldn't matter. Huh, why is it 51%? Interesting. I wonder why the top spin is not getting customers. I only have it at $7. Maybe I'll just lower it to 5. Let's see what happens. Okay, I just noticed that. But also just... No, that shouldn't matter. Huh. Yeah, wait, why did you just stop? Wait, oh, no. I want to go on something a bit more intense than top spin. Oh. Sorry, I don't have any of the intense rides at the moment. Probably going to add those in my other later lands, because that's the idea. Little things that I need to add is probably Brickley in the water, like a sea serpent. I was thinking about that. I want to try to add minifigs in the driving school, but I need to test out how I can do that. And I feel like it's going to be almost impossible, so I might not do it. It's going to be hard. So yeah, that it is what it is. At this point, I think I researched everything actually, so I have everything that the scenario will provide. So I have some plans to use the steel coaster for the dragon coaster and use the dragon trains instead of the junior train, because the junior train is the right track type, but I want a dragon, so I'm going to use the steel coaster. I think I want to use a wooden coaster or an inverted wooden coaster. No, wooden coaster for like it's either a coaster in the Land of Adventure or Dino Land, either or. So I want to at least put 2 more coasters in this park. And then, let's see, do I have a transportation? I have train. I don't need train. I can use monorail though for like my Spaceland. Well, I can put another coaster in Spaceland too, like a hydraulic coaster. Legoland doesn't have these because, again, Legoland's like a very family-oriented park. So in this case, I might break the mold a little bit and give this Legoland a little bit more thrills than normal. And I should just do that. And then I got tons of real flat rides still, and a couple calm. Wow, there's not a lot of calm in this map. I don't think I can research more, right? Let me see. No, it says nothing else to research. Yeah, so nope, that's it. Okay, cool. So let's get on building. We're probably going to start working on Castle Hill and build the dragon coaster and a castle and some dragons and medieval stuff. So let's get on to building. Okay, let's get on to work on the next area, and the next area is going to be Miniland, because no Miniland is complete, or no Legoland is complete without a Miniland. So that's always an important thing to do. So we're going to do that and figure out what I'm going to build for Miniland. So Miniland, depending on the park, I think they focus on different areas and things like that. So in this case, because my park is based off of California, I want to focus on what Miniland holds at Legoland, California. So first thing first is to build a sign that says Miniland. I think it was kind of fitting. So there's Lego bricks on the floor, holds up the sign, very typical sign, nothing too crazy. Sometimes simple is the best, and this was one of those things. The way I did the borders and the curved paths are just borders and some roofs to connect, fill in the gaps, and then regular pathways to kind of make it curved, excuse me, and then, yeah, go from there. You guys seen this a good number of times for me. I think I did it in Chanute Airfield. I did that there first. So the areas of interest I'm going to focus on is Washington, D.C., New Orleans, New York, Southern California with Hollywood, and Las Vegas. So those are the Minilands I am going to replicate, and I was half concerned doing this because I didn't know if I could make something this small in the scale of Parkitect, because there is a caveat for working small in Parkitect, especially with the shapes. So when you're down to not grid size, the size of cube to 0.10, and you try to stack it, there's going to be a gap no matter what, because Parkitect just does that. It's the horizontal measurements. But I know that if you make anything that is at least 0.13 or higher, it will connect and have a better connection when you stack cubes together. So I knew I had to do that, or had that in mind. The other thing would be to maybe keep everything around 0.25 sized shapes to kind of work with that, and it kind of represents Lego pieces in a way. So I focused on that as well, and then just went ham. So I built the Capitol building you just saw me do. It's pretty straightforward. It represents that building. It's not very accurate at all. So my other thought process is going through into this mini land is to not be so detail oriented, but get the shape of these buildings. So again, I'm trying to get a feeling or a recognize it from a distance. So if a player sees my mini land and they can hopefully identify the land that I'm trying to represent, then I'm in the right direction. So I did it again. I already did a test run with this. I sent out pictures and people did guess the cities quite correctly, and so I was quite happy with the results. But this was a hard one. I think altogether, all of Miniland took about 2 hours to work. No, 4 hours to work on. It was a lot of me spinning the camera and figuring out my angles and figuring out the shapes I was going to use and things like that. It was just very complicated. It's a lot of work, but in the end result, it looks pretty convincing that this is a Miniland. So it's like a miniature building series, and it represents these cities, iconic locations and stuff like that. So on to the next area. It's going to be New Orleans. I don't think I show you the rest of the areas because it was a very tedious work, and recording that would have been an additional hour on this video. So I do cut out a lot. I do apologize, but I don't think you guys want to sit through a 2-hour video, and I don't want to really record a 2-hour video. It's just there's a line I need to cross, like a line I won't cross, and that's one of these things. So for New Orleans, I needed to figure out what screams New Orleans. So there's a church that I copy. Swamps is one of them. A steamboat is another one, or a paddle boat as they're called. And I kind of just went from there and then making a graveyard. So that was kind of what screams New Orleans to me, but I also was copying what Legoland did for their New Orleans version. So I did the same here. I'm quite happy with the results because most people who have looked at the mini land that I've already built at this point has said it looks like New Orleans. So I'm on the right track. Some other players have been guessing different looks, but again, that's everybody's perspectives, which is fine. So I love that some of the trees can go really small now since we got them scalable. It sends booms and blooms. So we use the little round trees to kind of populate the tree line here, or the trees inside the little city, because most of the trees in like Miniland are miniature trees basically that they have to keep trimmed down to kind of represent real life trees, because there's no Lego trees in Miniland, if you've ever noticed, which is kind of an interesting thing. And none of the roads are made of Lego. The only thing that's Lego are buildings and people. And Miniland has a scale to itself. It's called Minilander scale. So the figures are quite tall. I want to say they're 2 inches tall. I might be wrong. I have a Minilander scale figure somewhere in my room because I build that stuff. Oh, look at that! You do see New York. I'm like surprised. Okay, so here's New York again. Tons of boxes, very tall buildings. Works out pretty well. This is actually the most, I think, building in this area is New York. So for New York, I focused on making the Empire State Building and the price of the building. Again, it's not a full representation. It's a representation, not realistically accurate. So we're jumping ahead though. Here we are onto a new project. So the other lands in Legoland are There's Castle Hill, there's I think a pirate land. So in this case I wanted to build the Dragon Coaster, which is a junior coaster I think. And it's the very iconic Lego Dragon Coaster. So I decided to use the junior coaster this time. I did say in the break I was going to use the steel coaster because it has a dragon car, but the dragon looked too Chinese and it didn't click with me. So I just bent the knee and just went for a regular junior coaster as normal. And so I was just going to go build a Castle Hill in this corner right across, it's like the corner, right corner of where Miniland is, the location of the park. So this is where I'm going to try to figure out my layout. So what I've noticed with the Dragon Coaster is it just does a lot of helixes, a couple drops. Again, it's a junior coaster. It's also supposed to be that crazy scary. It's for kids. So kind of focused on that. It's just very typical junior coaster-esque layout. Nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. And it was a very fun layout. And then I found a way to just, complete the layout. This is one coaster that doesn't get any realism, no transfer track. I imagine the transfer track would be inside a building actually, because I build the show building for this ride pretty long, or pretty large. The cool thing about the Dragon Coaster is that it has a dark ride section in the beginning, which is kind of a cool thing. So I kind of did that there with the swirls. You can see I do some left and right turns, and then a big 45-degree turn, and then kind of goes back into the chain lift. So I have that in focus, so I'll build a small dark ride section of it, which is kind of cool. I always found that very neat when I was a kid when I wrote it. It's like, oh, this is a cool dark ride. And little scenes all out of Lego pieces, and the dragon's really cool, and then you go up to the chain lift and you take off and do the ride. It's only about a minute ride though, but... So we jump ahead again, because there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I was working on, figuring out the layout of the building, figuring out the little details of the bricks of this castle. And so, like I've already iterated before, that Legoland builds very realistic buildings, or normal looking buildings, or the buildings themed to that theme, but then they add like Lego elements to it. So I was looking, and Castle Hill has Lego roofs, element pieces, and flags and studs in some places. So I kind of want to do the same imitation here for Castle Hill, so I did that. That swinging ship actually goes away. I was just putting that there for money sakes. I was trying to make some extra money in guests, but that didn't work out, so I removed it. I was gonna do Pirate Shores or something like that, but I didn't do it. It just felt like it didn't work out. And again, you've seen Pirate from me dozens of times, so I'm gonna let that one slide and not do it, and so I don't do it. So the other gripe about this scenario is you barely get any scenery, actually. It's generic, and then you get fantasy and a little bit of steampunk, and that's it. So I didn't get medieval, so it was really hard to populate this area with medieval items. The only thing I had was barrels, and I wanted boxes. I didn't get boxes from the Western pack, so it was kind of a letdown, but it kind of worked out in the end because I picked Lego as a theme, because I knew in my head I was going to use shapes from the get-go. I mean, this is the most shapes. No, this is pretty close to the shapes that I would use normally in a map, but I did use a lot of shapes in this case. And also I have a land that basically does nothing. It's Miniland. Miniland does nothing. It's literally just for decoration boosts, and that's it. So finally on to actually building said little dioramas, or little scenes here. So this scene's going to be the dragon head. And the dragon head, my thought process was to make it look like it was built from Lego, and then it churned into just making it look like a dragon, because when I was building it with the squares, it didn't look right. See right here, I'm trying to make an open mouth, like a square head with a round neck, and it just was off-putting. So I just quickly changed it up and just made it normally a regular looking dragon that I would normally do with shapes. So a lot of cylinders, a lot of discs, a lot of half hemispheres, and that actually worked out better. Honestly, that was the way to go. Sometimes I overcomplicate things, and this was one of those problems. So you can see I'm just doing it normally, and it looks better for it. So it looks like a dragon.
It's really close to the train, actually. That's actually really bad for OSHA sakes, but I had very little clearance. But there you go, a dragon. Very scary looking. I built some piles of treasure around it out of just regular hemispheres and then lights as gems just to make it glow at night. It was actually a really cool, fitting way to do it. Yeah, nothing. I went less detail on the dragon because it doesn't need to be that detailed. Again, this is supposed to be Legoland. They don't have that big of a budget, so I kind of lowered my detailing craziness for it and then just kind of made a very simple dragon. So it works out pretty well. There's the gems with the lights, which is always fun to use because they can stick to any surface, which is the fun part about them. And then I just pulled the colors from the blocks that I have always. Always a good practice for you guys. When you start a map, pick your color palette right off the bat. Experiment, mess around with it, and have it on your map just in case, and save it, and then name it what it is. Over here is going to be the wizard's like tower hut scene, because there's a wizard scene in the ride. Again, the dark ride's really not cohesive. You go through two guards, you pass two guards, and you go to a kitchen, a dinner hall that having a fight break out for some reason, and you go to the wizard's tower, and then you see the dragon at the end, and then you see the wizard, and he opens the door, and you go up the chamber. It makes no sense. So there's no chance for me to make this make sense either, so I just did it. Theirs was my attempt, also, to build a minifig, and I wasn't feeling it. It didn't feel right to me. It was going to be even harder to work with, and I feel like it would have looked ugly. So I 100% scrapped it and just replaced it with a cauldron that's made of shapes. I think that was the better choice on my end. You might disagree with me, but I just didn't feel right about making the minifig because I feel like it would have been very crude looking. So we're going to jump ahead completely over because I do finish the Castle Hill with a log ride and a restaurant. Again, that was a lot of work on my end, but you get to see it in the tour. And so the last line I wanted to add before this scenario actually completed was Land of Adventure, which is a Johnny Thunders themed area. So it's Egyptian themed with archaeology basically, and then desert. It's kind of fitting to have that on the opposite side of the park, opposite of Castle Hill. So I knew in this land I wanted that dark ride called the Lost Kingdom Adventure, so I get to build that. I build a restaurant that's over here with the funnel cake and drink stand, and then one additional flat ride. I think it's the Toblerone that I built. But I wanted a different set of environment, so I went for the Egyptian theme, and this theme there over here is actually less detailed than my Mystic Oasis. Yes, 100% less detailed, but it still screams Lego. That's the weird part about doing this, is that I did a very minimalistic version of these themes and ideas, and it was actually a weird way to do it. It just feels weird, but it works at the same time. For me, it felt like it was Lego, but it also didn't scream Disney, right? Because again, Legoland is not a very rich park. They have very little money to do anything with, so worked out in the end for this case. So I used the Car Dark ride for the dark ride, and the Lost Kingdom Adventure is a shooter ride actually. So you sit there with 4 riders, and then you have laser guns and you shoot targets. So I kind of imitate that in one scene with lights, and they trigger on and off with a effects controller. I think that was a cool little effect, and it worked out really well there. So I just figured out the layout for it, and then figuring out my texture of the land and things like that. The only thing that I find very annoying is the land of Highway Hijinks. It's very hilly, so I had to work with that the best I can to kind of fit these in the area. And again, these structures are not historically accurate. They never will be, because again, it's a Legoland. So just imagine a kid building these sets or something, and then this is what they build. So that's basically what the gist and the thought process is while I was building this land. Lost Kingdom Adventure gets some studs and some Lego decorational greeblies on it. I do stack bricks around the desert to give it some more Lego feel, like there's piles of tan bricks and brown bricks kind of laying around. I should have done more of that actually in the Lost Kingdom area, not Lost Kingdom, Castle Hill area. And then I made a fake pyramid on top, kind of like a vantage point, not a vantage point, like a, what do you call it, like a forced perspective. Yes, forced perspective type of thing. So there's rocks in front, and then you see the top of a pyramid off in the distance or something. It was kind of a funny thought. I don't think it would translate well if you actually were down there, but for my case being up here, I can see it. So it was a cool little detail that I thought was neat. And then there's the Torbjorn with the rocks and stuff. This ride actually performs quite well because it makes lots of money. And then using the simple palm trees because they're very toy-like, and then making a tent out of shapes because I didn't have that tent. And then a biplane made sense because let's say that's the explorers or something. I don't know. Just figuring out the story, but making it very basic because it's not supposed to be that seriously crazy. Again, it's Legoland. It's not supposed to be Disney level theming, but it's enough to really portray that this feels like Legoland. It looks like Legoland, and it operates probably like Legoland. Cheap. So, as you can see, the land's kind of building itself together. It kind of starts growing on its own. You start adding things here and there, pieces, and it kind of works out. So soon we're going to start working on one of the scenes with the targets and stuff like that. You'll see that in a second. But I also built an obelisk on top of this building just to add some more interest to it and eyes that are drawn to it. And then here's the brick idea I wanted to add, was little bricks kind of stacked on the diagonal roofs, not diagonal roofs, the 45-degree roofs here. They kind of added that more Lego feeling to it. I do like that feeling. And there's studs on top of all the buildings, which is, I think, is a neat idea. So these scenes are actually not that detailed either. Well, they're detailed enough, but they're not like over crazy. So bricks, a snake statue, and then a whole bunch of red targets go everywhere, some rocks and stuff. And it gets triggered every time a vehicle comes by, and that's it. That's basically the gist of it. You can see me just do that real quick. Here's all the targets. I think I added too many. It's fine. Targets are targets. I just made them blink on and off at different points of it, and then had it loop. Well, it didn't loop, it was triggered every time a vehicle came by, so it kind of imitated that the riders were shooting targets and stuff like that. So and then I win the scenario at that point. Then at that point I would have to finish up the details here and there and stuff like that. And basically well, we're going to see the tour very soon actually. So we'll do that in about 20 seconds here. So yeah, I'm going to leave you guys to it. We're going to go take a quick tour of the park, see all the little details, and I'll see you over there.
Okay, welcome to Highway Hijinks, or as I'm going to call it, Legoland. And yeah, we're just take somewhat of a quick tour because there's a lot in this park, and I encourage you all to download this map and take a gander at everything you see. And yeah, we'll just start off with the main entrance area after I fix some fences that I forgot to fix. So the front area of Legoland, or all Legolands I've known, are called the beginning. So you just have your entrance area with the big shop, which sells most of the Lego sets that are on site, and then it's just kind of just a hodgepodge of brick decorations, so colorful colors, all the bright colors of Lego. I like that I used the actual hex code for all the colors in this map because Lego hex colors are quite widely available on the net, so I easily just grabbed those. So as we venture up toward this way up north, we get over to the second areas, which would be called Imagination Zone. So this is part of this building. A Lego giraffe with some Lego blocks, and then our first flat ride or jumper, and then our T-Rex, which is the Technic T-Rex, which is actually one of the cooler builds I've done. And then just kind of just dotting down some flat rides, kind of just decorate them to a Lego theme. And then the first coaster was the Technic test track Project X roller coaster. So this is kind of very similar to the layout actually in real life, kind of shortened in some places, but I do like the very simple way it was built. Legoland has this sense of, it is a cheaper run theme park, so everything is on a cheaper side of design. So you're building with like cheaper materials, you do less decorations, you do a lot more trees, stuff like that. It's just a different feel to it, but I do like how this park so far feels like Legoland, and if it feels like something that you're working on, like it feels like Disney or it feels like Legoland, you're on the right track usually. So we venture off over to the next area, Funtown. So this is all just basically Lego themed city stuff. So Ferris wheel, carousel, driving school with a go-kart as our driving school, which I do like this. This looks really nice. I was very proud of myself when I figured out how to do actual road lines and traffic lights, and all. I'm like, oh, this is neat. And a quick little Lego club, and then our Lego factory, which is kind of a fake it's a one-way road, so guests go in and they exit out of the Lego club. So this is the first half of the park on one side of the highway, and we venture off to the other side, and we end up in Miniland, which was one of the harder lands I got to build, honestly. Building these little dinky little sculptures out of shapes took longer than I expected. Like, DC took maybe 30 minutes to work on. New Orleans was about, I want to say, another 40 minutes, and then kind of just went from there. So the lands are Washington, DC, New Orleans. This is Southern California, kind of like an LA. Missions, and then Hollywood, and then Las Vegas, and then our wonderful New York. So it kind of just fits kind of in the center of the park in a way, so it just sits there. And then I put down a it's just a swing. Yeah, wave swing. What am I calling it? It's wave swing. Just put a wave swing here to kind of just fill in a space. It kind of feels, I feel like it's out of place, but I'm kind of too lazy to remove it. So it lives there, it's going to stay there. And so as we venture up this way, up toward the left side of Miniland, is Castle Hill. So Castle Hill is your typical medieval fantasy themed area with their dragon coaster. So here's the dragon coaster, or the dragon as it's called. We have some scenes in the back that I kind of cut away. Looks like the ride shut down because of the rain. Kind of was a fun way to do it. I switched from a steel coaster to junior coaster because it just seems to be better fit. And then we added a very simple log ride in the back. I think I don't have a name for it because it was just a space to fill in, and then added some Lego bricks in the mountain, kind of just add some interest. This is actually like Legoland kind of was being cheap about it, so it looks very cheap to me. So we're gonna keep it like this because, again, Legoland's not that like crazily expensive. They don't do crazy stuff. And then off to venture to the last land is the Land of Adventure. So this is kind of like the Johnny Thunder themed, Egypt themed type land. So we actually have a dark ride in the back called Lost Kingdom. I stuck a flat ride here, which is the Torbjorn. At this point, it works here. It's a very big flat ride, very hard to decorate. So again, Legoland's being cheap, which is fine. It's totally the point of it. And then here's a restaurant that kind of helps supply guests with food in this land, because the furthest food probably would be Castle Hill. Yeah, this Castle Hill is the farthest location. And then here's the inside of the little cutaways for dark ride. There's like a spike chamber trap, and then these lights trigger whenever a car comes through because it's a shooting ride, because Lost Kingdom is a game type dark ride, so this kind of fits well. And the challenging thing of this scenario is how limited my scenery was, and it was so hard to kind of get themes working. So that was kind of the difficult part. And so far, yeah, this is all of Legoland. So you can see that I have 2 rides shut down. Jeez, that's not good. I have 10 mechanics, so I should be okay. Let's add a couple more mechanics actually. And then my haulers, let's add a couple more haulers. So it looks like I'm low on some stock here and there, but overall, this is One of my more detailed parks, actually. And we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 themed lands. Yeah, this is a lot of stuff going on here. So let's quickly save and see where we sit on the trophy we get on the main map. And we'll go from there. Ah, there we go. It is the bridge. I kind of figured. So there's the bridge. Plop it down. We got a coin, not 2 coins. And then, oh, look, a road. So wait, what did we get up here? Orchard Acres. Ooh, okay. So we have the choice between Honey Hills or Orchard Acres. So I'm going to give you guys the choice again. Might as well, because the last time you guys picked was Happy Co. Harbor. So your choices are Honey Hills or Orchard Acres. I'm leaning on Orchard Acres, personally. But we will see. What's the goals? 70%, 600 guests, park. Oh, tickets. So these are tickets. Oh, that means that's how the land unlocks. Okay. And then this one's 400 guests, no loan debts, 2,000 profit. Okay. So yeah, you guys either pick. I'm going to reiterate. Orchard Acres or Honey Hills. So leave a comment in the description. I'll probably put a poll up in the community tab as well. I want to thank you guys for watching this pretty long video, because there was a lot packed in there. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can. There'll be a link in the description below. And yeah, I will continue on to the next map. You guys get to choose my next scenario. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.